Hi, I'm Rita. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Life Worth Reading. Today, I want to talk to you about my spring TBR. We are a few days into the spring season now, and I want to tell you about 8 books that I'm going to be reading more or less until June. I would say that's my deadline for reading these books, and they're just books that I'm hoping to read in the next couple of months, books that remind me of spring, books that I have been thinking about lately that I really want to pick up. And so without further ado, let's just get into the books. By the way, all of these books will come from my physical TBR because that's just what I'm working on this year, and I want to only read books off of my physical TBR. At least for these specific TBRs that I'm doing, I'm still going to pick up like a library book or an ebook from time to time, but specifically for these kinds of set TBRs, I'm just going to try and pick books that I own physically. The first book that I have here is perhaps the weirdest one, the one that doesn't really fit the theme of spring. It's just a book that I've been thinking about lately and one that I would like to try out in the next couple of months for no specific spring related reason, and that is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is just a book that I've heard people talk about endlessly over the years. Kazuo Ishiguro is a very celebrated author, and though his books are, some of them are a little bit controversial in terms of ratings and in terms of opinions, and people really love his books and people think that they are not that great, but overall Kazuo Ishiguro is a very famous author, and I do really want to try this book, even though I have tried to read Clara and the Sun, which is one of his latest releases, and I actually DNF'd that book because I just really wasn't interested in it. But I think that this one might be a win. This book, from what I know, is about these children in boarding school, and I know it's like about this shocking twist that people really try to avoid to spoil, so I actually haven't been spoiled for this book, but I know that it serves themes of family and identity. I don't know, it's mostly just about these children and their experience in this boarding school, and our main character Kathy is looking back to her time at this school and her time with her classmates. And I don't know, I really don't understand what this book is about. I know it has some kind of twist or something different to it, but I really do want to find that out. I don't particularly love this cover. It's just a book that I picked up from like a free little library last summer. So if I do enjoy this book, I don't know if I'm going to keep it, but I do want it physically at the moment. It is a short book, and yeah, I would just love to know what the hype is all about because this book is very, very talked about. Next up, we have a book that the cover really does speak spring to me, and that is The Marriage Portrait by Meg O'Farrell. I mean, come on. This cover is just so spring, like the flowers and the green, the animals. I'm just really in love with this cover, and it really reminded me of this blooming season that we have upon us. And basically, I'm just going to read you the tiny little thing that is written on here. It says, "The Marriage Portrait is the story of a singular young woman who must battle for survival amidst the splendor and treachery of the Italian Renaissance." So it's set in the Italian Renaissance. We are following this young woman who realizes that her husband is apparently intending to kill her, and so she has to survive in this hostile environment. I have 2 books by Meg O'Farrell, and the other one will make its appearance soon enough in another video, but I don't know, I really feel like I'm going to enjoy her writing and her books. I have no idea why. I do love a historical fiction, and I do love like a woman-centered historical fiction, and honestly spring also just brings me like historical fiction vibes for some reason. I don't know if you feel the same, let me know. But this season like really makes me want to read more historical fictions. I actually have quite a few on this list. But yeah, this one is just like mostly the cover, and I really want to get to it. I bought it last year, like towards the end of the year. So I haven't owned it for too long. It's been like 6 months or something. But I still really want to read it, and I think that this will be the time to do so. Next up, we have another book that definitely does not fit the theme for spring for most people, but I don't know why. Every time that I envision myself reading this book, it was around this time of year. I think that maybe because I started it last year around this time, and so every time that I think about picking this book up, it just feels right there. It's during spring, and that is Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez. So this is a horror book, which really usually does not fit the theme for spring reading, but last year I picked up the translated version to Portuguese in my library. So I picked it up, I read it about halfway through, then I had to give it back because I was kind of in a slump at the time, but I was really enjoying the book. And so I finally bought a copy for myself, actually on the same day that I bought The Marriage Portrait at the same bookshop. And I don't know, every time that I think about this book, it just reminds me of that time last year when I was reading it, and it was just like springtime. So this year, I think I want to do the same. Most people would maybe wait for the fall season, like Halloween, to pick this book up, but I don't know, there's just something that is speaking to me at the moment, and I think I need to like take the plunge and just read it again, because as you can tell, this book is quite long. This version of it is over 700 pages long, and so the fact that I am in the mood to read it, I need to take advantage of that. I really do. I love this cover as well, and this book is about a father and his son. The kid is named Gaspar. I actually don't remember the father's name, but this is set in Argentina, and it's about this man, like his father, that has some type of dark powers, and it's like his wife was also related to like this thing called the Order, and it's very much like this spooky atmosphere. We have like, not really like demonic, but we have a lot of evil things and dark powers and cemeteries, and yeah, it was just a really interesting ride, and I'm interested to read it in English to see how the translation is done, because the book is originally Spanish. So I'm really excited to read this book, and I am excited that I actually want to read this book, because this could easily be a book that I would put off for a long time because of its length and it's kind of intimidating, but I'm really happy that I want to read this book, and I have to make it happen in the next couple of months before summer comes. The next book that I want to read in this season is The Book of Goose by Yi-Yun Lee. This is on this TBR, honestly, for the reason that it is the last book that I have, because in January I filmed the Try a Chapter tag with 5 books that I thought would be 5 stars, and this is the last book standing, baby. This is the last one. I've read the other 4, and so I'm really excited to get to this in the next couple of months. Solely for that reason, because I am trying to get to all of them, and this is just the last one. So it doesn't really specifically give me spring vibes. I mean, it does a little bit because like there are animals on the cover, and yeah, it's not like it's not a spring book, but it's not on this TBR for that reason. It's more of like I want to feel a sense of achievement that I've finally read all 5 books that were on that video. And if you want to go check it out, it will be in the description down below. But yeah, this book is about 2 best friends, or like maybe frenemies, one called Fabienne and the other one called Agnes, and this is set in France. And Agnes went to America, and she has just found out that her childhood best friend Fabienne is dead. And so it's kind of like this unraveling of their childhood together and their lives. I read the first chapter and it's quite weird, but I was really into it. So I do want to finish this book, get it done. Hopefully it will be a 5-star, because it is a 5-star prediction, but we'll just have to see about that. Next up is a rather spring related book, and one that I'm actually not sure if I have hauled already. This is the last book that I bought in 2023, and I haven't done a book haul in a while, so I don't think I ever hauled this book, but that is Briefly a Delicious Life. I love this cover, absolutely obsessed, and this is about Frédéric Chopin and his wife George Sand, and her children, and they travel to a monastery in Mallorca in the 19th century, and the woman that is watching them is this ghost girl called Blanca, and she has found out that during the afterlife it is women that she falls for, and she feels like this unspoken connection to women. And so I think it is just about like yearning and desire even though that she is now a ghost. I don't know, I just find the plot of it very intriguing. I find the idea of it very enticing, and I would just love to read this. And I don't know, just like the fruits like blooming, a delicious life, it just gives me all the spring vibes. And honestly, I just think it's quite interesting that Melissa Broder also called this book dazzling. I don't know, I just think it is a very original plot and synopsis, and I really want to give it a try. Next up, we actually have a sequel, and that is holox, The Hunt for Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is book 3 in the Nevermore series. I am in love with the Nevermore series, and this is the 3rd installment. Thankfully, the 4th book will be coming out in October. I am dying for it because it was pushed back 1 entire year. So I can't believe we're like less than 6 months from finally getting the 4th one. So it's time for me to read the 3rd one. I do want to reread it. I have the whole trilogy in hardback, which is how you know that I really like these books, because I don't usually collect books like that. But I don't know, it just, I love the green on the cover, and this series is honestly just like a really feel-good series. And that's also what spring is about. It's about like relaxing and feeling happy and doing things that make you happy, because it is a happy season, and then summer comes along and it's just so great. So I do really want to finally read this book. Also, I love the inside flap. Like, this is so beautiful. Oh, I love this edition so much. I'm so thankful that I have them, and I am definitely going to purchase the 4th one in hardback as well. I love the matching series, and I want to be happy in the next couple of months. So I'm definitely going to be reading this, and I am so unbelievably excited for this one and for the 4th one, Silverborn. I cannot wait. The next book that I have is also very much like a cover inspired choice, and that is The Vaster Wilds by Lauren Groff. Okay, this is really shiny, I need to hold it this way. And this book is about a servant girl who escapes her colony, I think, with nothing with her. And I think it's just like about the colonialism that happened in the United States. It says like America. I don't really know what this book is about. It doesn't really say, but again, like the little tree, I don't know, it just really speaks to me. This is the author of Fates and Furies and The Matrix, and I also, it's one of those authors that I think that I'm really going to enjoy, even though I have no basis for saying that whatsoever. But I don't know, I just saw this and it was an instant, it had like this power over me, and I just had to buy it. So it is time to read it. It is time to read it. And yeah, the cover just gives me spring vibes. So we'll see what happens. I think it has absolutely nothing to do with any spring related things, but we'll just have to see. And lastly, the 8th book on this TBR makes total sense in my humble opinion, and that is Peach Blossom Spring by Melissa Fu. This is a book of the month that I bought secondhand on Vinted, because I do not receive books from Book of the Month. I cannot buy books from Book of the Month because they do not deliver them here. So I had to buy this book secondhand, and I bought this because it is a historical fiction. The cover really intrigued me, and I've heard really great things about this book. It says here, I'm going to read you the inside flap. It says here, a moving debut novel about war, migration, and the power of telling our stories that follows 3 generations of a Chinese family on their search for a place to call home. I absolutely adore an intergenerational story. I love also like stories about moving, about being an immigrant and the immigrant experience. I found that to be really interesting. And yeah, it just says spring on the title. I mean, how could you not? And it's a historical fiction, which I meant that I'm really into at the moment. And I think that this season reminds me and makes me want to read more historical fictions. And I've heard really amazing things about this one. So I hope that it does meet my expectations for it. All right, friends, and here we have the 8 very heavy books that I'm hoping to read in the spring months. So I'm giving myself the rest of March, April, May, and June to read all of these books, and hopefully I will achieve that, because that would mean that I had read 8 books off of my physical TBR, and that's just what we want this year, and that's what we're working towards. In any case, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know which books are on your spring TBR. If you make seasonal TBRs, it's something that I'm trying out this year, so I do want to know if you do this as well and if it works for you. If you did enjoy this video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content, and I'll see you in my next video. I hope you have a nice day, and always remember that life is worth reading.